Episode 7 of the 2 Minute Drill podcast. I'm Jim Monaghan along with Chris Swendeman. Swendeman, we're going to talk about NFL and we're going to talk about perception and we're going to talk about reality and where the two meet and specifically how it relates to the Kansas City Chiefs, the officiating, and Patrick Mahomes.
Oh boy, here we
So
go. This
here,
sounds like a good time.
here we go. So, what's the big cry that you're hearing every Sunday, especially like the last 4 or 5 weeks? The
Mahomes,
refs are
Mahomes,
right.
Mahomes. Can't touch him, can't breathe on him, can't get near him because you're going to get the flag.
Right. And if that's the way people perceive it, well, then that's the reality. Now, this is nothing new. Mahomes gets on the calls. Where have we heard that before?
I,
Peyton Manning gets on the calls. Tom
Tom
Brady
Brady
gets
gets
on
all
the
the
right?
call.
I mean, this
It's
is nothing new. This
no,
goes on and on and on. Oh, Belichick whines all the time to the officials. Like every other coach in the NFL doesn't do it? Come on.
as an NFL coach, you're preordained to be in the ref's ear constantly because if you say it enough times, it'll happen. If you get in ahead, I think they refs after a while just want to be left alone and will give you something. It's like the kids that keep begging, like dad just said, leave me alone. Go fine. And they'll throw the flag. That's what coaches do. They are always working the refs because when a call really happens, they get it. It's just part of the coaching, DNA.
Now, that said, there were two calls this past weekend in the Chiefs game that made you scratch your head and go, really? Do we want to throw a flag there? And the second one was so egregious that even Troy Aikman, now announcers really aren't supposed to criticize the officiating. It's just
Right.
an unwritten rule. They're not supposed to. And Aikman who really went after it on that, talking about, I mean, the first reaction, as soon as the flag was thrown, he said something.
I mean, as a quarterback, anybody would know when there's a call that should go for the quarterback better than Troy Aikman, Hall of Fame quarterback. But I mean, even he was like, "Oh, come on!"
Yeah.
I
And
mean, when
granted,
you, yeah,
oh, go ahead.
I mean, even when, I mean, this was a call that as soon as it happened, we're all like, all right, come on. He was out of bounds, but I mean, it was such an egregious flop. It was almost like you could put him right in the middle of the NBA. And I mean, that would have fit right in with that kind of flop. But I mean, the other one was, that it could have gone either way, but this one was just so egregiously bad. It was like, come on, guys, what are we doing?
Now, there is some talk that at the end of the season, when everything's all said and done, the NFL is going to take a look at how to take care of some of these calls to make sure that some of the silly ones don't get called. We should point out that this is a quarterback driven league and has been for some time. And if the NFL is going to maintain ratings, maintain revenue, et cetera, and that's the job, make money, get people to watch, you have to have QB1 on his feet. It does nobody any good if you've got a second or third string quarterback in
No,
the game. I mean,
absolutely
look at
not.
the
No.
Giants. You see
Yeah.
what you get there. So that's one of the reasons why the pendulum has swung so far in the direction of the quarterbacks. But let me run some numbers by you because I thought this was very interesting along the perception and reality line.
Sure.
This is over the last 2 seasons, including playoffs. In the fourth quarter and overtime, where appropriate, of one score games involving the Kansas City Chiefs. Fourth quarter, overtime, one score games. 47 penalties have been called against the Chiefs. 48 penalties have been called against their opponents.
Wow.
Right? So the
Wow.
perception is they're getting all the calls. The reality is it's pretty darn even. It's 47 penalties against the Chiefs for 307 yards, 48 penalties against their opponents for 340 yards.
Numbers don't lie.
They
I mean,
don't.
there they are. But you know what it is? It's kind of that theory of heavy is the head that wears the crown. The Chiefs are the crown jewel right now. They are the team to beat. When the Patriots were on top and winning constantly, it was, as we've said, Brady's getting all the calls. They're under such a microscope and nobody can figure out how they keep the winning going, that winning formula of Andy Reid, Mahomes, Kelsey, and everyone else. And the only way to explain it, well, it's got to be the calls. It's got to be Mahomes gets every call. And it's not that way. And you just proved it by showing the numbers.
Right. But again, the perception is, and I perceive it the same way, he's getting every call. And
Because
I do
it's
think the game
right.
was affected this past weekend by a call
Oh,
that probably shouldn't have been made.
no, I'm with you on that one. I mean, this weekend it was a tight game all the way through, tighter than the Chiefs probably wanted, and that call definitely swung the pendulum in the Chiefs' favor for sure, no doubt.
So I do think that they are going to take a look at stuff like this in the post after the season's over, when the Super Bowl's all said and done. But it is again a quarterback-driven league, and we've got a good game coming up this weekend with Mahomes and Allen, and a lot of people think Allen should be the MVP. So is he going to get all the calls?
We shall see. Buffalo going into KC. KC is still the champ until you beat the champ. If Buffalo can't get it done this year, I don't know who is going to beat KC, because Buffalo has so much momentum. Josh Allen is so good. I'll tell you right now, I'm making my prediction. I'm on the Bills Mafia bandwagon, Jim. I think if this is the year Buffalo's going to go to the Super Bowl, they've got to do it this game, this moment, and this is going to be Josh Allen's big spotlight on him, and this is going to be his crowning jewel. If he's going to have a legendary career, this is going to be the moment right here.
And this would be a great game to have it. You want to talk
Oh,
about
absolutely.
legend? This would be a great game, and maybe he gets more commercials out of it than than Patrick
Maybe,
Mahomes.
maybe. I mean, are there any other commercials than Kelsey, Mahomes, and Reed, or all three combined? I
Wow.
don't know if they have anybody else in the NFL that could do a commercial.
I mean, Mahomes is on constantly. If he's not
So is
on the field,
Kelsey.
right? If Mahomes isn't on the field flopping to get a call, he's selling insurance
He's selling insurance along with Andy Reid.
and cell phones.
Yeah, exactly.
So the national championship game coming up a little bit later on this evening for those who may be watching / listening to this before the game tonight. Gee, Swendeman, I wonder who you're rooting for.
Oh, I don't know. Those guys in South Bend intrigue me just a little bit. I'm looking forward to this game. No, I think they have a really good formula, and it was an exciting playoff series for both teams to get where they were. And I think this is going to be a closer game than most people think, or at least I hope so.
I
Tonight.
think it's an 8.5 point spread, somewhere in that range.
Yep. Yep. But I think Notre Dame's defense is going to hold in there, fingers crossed. But I think this is going to be a really heavyweight battle.
How did you end up a Notre Dame fan?
Growing up, I was surrounded by Irish fans, and I just kind of just gelled into it. I actually wanted to go there when I was in high school. Stayed local, but Notre Dame always intrigued me. Went out there when I was younger in high school to look at the campus, and I was just in love with it from day one. I always loved the helmets and the intrigue of the players, from Joe Montana to Jerome Bettis. I mean, you go on and on with some of the players, and I just always loved the Irish.
Well, there you go. So we know who you're rooting for in the national championship game tonight. I want to point out that this is our 7th episode. And a few weeks ago on Jersey Magazine, a public affairs show that I do for WDHA, where you and I both spend some time,
Yep.
we had on Mike Ham from Greetings from the Garden State, and we were talking about how to start your own podcast. And he said that the 7th episode is where most of them die. So if we're not back next week,
You know what happened, folks? We're sorry. It was a great run.
all 7 episodes.
All 7 episodes of it. It's like that TV show that you love. They're like, where did that TV show go that I love? Well, they hit number 7, and that was the end of it. So somebody's going to get the hook, like the comedy night at the Apollo, and just like kind of pull us off stage.
Well, we are planning to do an 8th
We are.
episode next Monday.
Yes.
So, set your dials, kids.
Exactly. We'll be back.
We'll be back. If you are watching this on YouTube, please press like or subscribe, and that'll ensure maybe that we get that 8th episode.
Exactly. And
All
follow
right.
us on socials as Facebook and Twitter as well.
You got it. Swendeman, thanks. We'll talk again next week.
You got it. I'll see you for episode 8 next week, Jim.